I don't know if you guys have been actually following everything that's been going on with the whole CEO shooting going down in New York City, but you got to understand there's a lot more context than what's actually being shown on the actual news. You can't honestly expect someone to not reach their breaking point because you literally took their last dollar and they can't even afford to feed their children. But if you actually don't know what I'm talking about, a couple days ago on December 4th, some guy in a green hooded jacket wearing a black mask and a backpack arrived, I think it was during the day, on the Greyhound bus, riding a bike throughout the day, stopping at multiple rest stops, waiting until the right time until he can encounter the CEO during the nighttime during that specific walk that he takes. I don't really know if he knew that it was gonna take that specific road. I don't know if he calculated this whole plan from the get-go and specifically calculated the path that he was going to go on. That's when the gunman finally met up with the CEO, and I want to say it was a good 10 to 20 feet that the CEO walked in front of the gunman before the gunman finally put out his gun with the silencer and shot repeatedly at the CEO. The gun actually jammed to where he was knowledgeable enough to unjam the gun. Then he proceeded to walk forward a couple of steps and unloaded a couple more rounds into the CEO, making sure he was deceased. One of the more shocking parts about this whole situation is that it was rumored that there was an actual witness that was standing right next to the gunman himself. So the gunman had absolutely no qualms about pulling out a gun in broad public and just laying out a person right in front of everybody. And on one hand, yeah, you can attribute this to manic fucking sociopath, psychopathic tendencies, but you got to understand the context of the situation. What is this guy doing, and what is he trying to represent, and who is he doing these actions to? After the shooting, it was alleged that he just simply got on his bike and rode away, that no one really stopped him or tried to intervene in the whole situation. Not that I would, honestly. But actually, after riding around a bit, that backpack that I initially said that he left purposefully, he left at a park, I want to say a couple of miles. Now, when police actually ended up finding this bag, one of the more significant representations that actually came from the find was that actually in the bag was monopoly money. That there wasn't any guns, there wasn't any drugs, there wasn't anything that could represent the actual person. It was just monopoly money. And a lot of the people are taking this as a representation of the actual killer, what he's trying to show. He's trying to show his motives and representing his vigilante justice against the whole 1% monopoly. Do we actually know verbatim what he meant by putting monopoly money in the bag and probably purposefully leaving it for the police to find? But adding this piece of evidence in conjunction to the actual person that he killed, it really seems like he's trying to represent this vigilante justice being a martyr to the people, showing them that, hey, the 1%, the people that control every aspect of our lives, the people that control our food, our water, electricity, the gas, the simply things that we see on a daily basis, the things that we interact on the daily basis, that they're not invincible. That the people that like to play themselves up as mortars and the people that like to scream that they're invincible with all this cash and this influence, that they're not. Admittedly, yes, this is one of the more extreme examples in trying to get the understanding across of people showing that they can't just be taken advantage of and you have to have understandings in life. But obviously, as a lot of people know in America, that's one of the big things lacking in CEOs, and not even CEOs in general, just in companies, because CEOs have made their companies in structure to them. So as much as the person that creates the company is creating the bad practices, they're forcing these bad practices, it ends up creating subsidiary businesses and other businesses that their sole business model is these bad practices. After leaving the monopoly money on the scene, there's actually no more footage of the actual person that the cops can find of him. It's believed that the actual gunman isn't even in New York City anymore. Whether he should be caught can be an actual, devil's advocate conversation you can have, but whether he will be caught, I personally don't even think he will, because the whole investigation started 2 to 3 days late. So as many as people want him to get caught, or people think he deserves to get caught, or even don't want him to get caught in general, it really doesn't seem that the police are going to be able to catch him, because they don't even have any facial recognition besides the two smiling faces, but it really just shows his mouth and his nose, and it really doesn't show any actual identifying facial features. And not only that, the investigation didn't start 2 days until after the initial killing. So in all reality, he probably had enough time to hightail out of here and he's probably long gone back to his initial state. So the only actual way to identify this type of person is if he told somebody and then they ended up turning him in. Which in all seriousness, I kind of really doubt, because if you actually understand the sentiment of the whole situation that's going on, if you even just go onto like Reddit or Instagram and then anything that has to do with the comment section that's talking about the whole situation with the CEO getting killed, a lot of people are actually praising the killer. A lot of people are actually happy that a CEO got shot because it feels like it's finally like a valve release or a pressure release, or somebody actually getting the comeuppance for everybody getting hurt and denied and basically taken advantage of for years at a time. The only reason you have $1 billion company is because you keep taking advantage and denying claims and not paying out the actual damn insurance to make this damn $1 billion company. There's a lot of reasons that actually people feel like they have been taken advantage of, and the reason that the whole corporate America is unfair, when in all reality, it is unfair. But a lot of the mass media, a lot of the influential people, they're not going to let anybody else know that, because the people that actually pay their salary are the people at the top, the 1%, the people that are trying to just make mass hysteria and just tell everybody, oh, you know, everything's fine, everything's all right. But in all reality, the cost of living, our wages aren't proportional to the actual cost of living. Personally, I have a lot of understanding for people feeling right about this whole situation. Personally, I never had a large coverage insurance claim denied. I never had to have that unfortunate situation. I've had different insurances denied for different reasons. I make too much money when I'm goddamn I'm broke. There's many stories across the internet on why people feel like the 1% has been screwing them over for a long time, and that finally, now that there's some type of vigilante justice, that there's this whole phrase called eat the rich, that people are finally going to start to understand that fighting back is the only way that we're actually going to make this country equal again. One of the biggest clues for this whole situation to be some type of vigilante justice, because when the police actually found the bullets that was either encased into the CEO itself or surrounded from the CEO, there were multiple carvings of words on the bullets themselves saying delay, deny, defend. Now, if you actually don't know what delay, deny, defend is, it seems to be an Amazon book that was actually recently taken off on Amazon, because apparently everybody really thinks that this whole idea and this whole killing of CEOs might spread around, and I guess everybody's trying to smother it, lessen it, I guess you want to say. Delay, deny, defend is a critical exploration of the property and casualty insurance industry, exclaiming how it practices affects policyholders. Fenneman, a policy professor specializing in consumer rights and insurance law, argues that the industry prioritizes profits over policyholders' needs, often using tactics like delaying and denying legitimate claims to bolster financial performance. This book attributes to these practices the changes in the industry structures and goals driven by the pursuit of investment income and cost-cutting measures. Initially, New York was offering $10K alone for the turning in of this whole vigilante, but now the FBI has gotten involved. They offered their own $50K on top of the $10K for the turning in of the whole vigilante. And I'm not really saying anybody's going to take that money, because a lot of people can actually use money in today's age, but you got to understand what everybody's trying to fight for. You got to understand that for once in America's life, like in all reality, I'm pretty surprised of how everybody's kind of agreeing in this whole situation. I'm not saying anybody should die. I'm not saying that anybody should face consequences from the actions from a majority group. Not saying that. You got to understand who the person was actually attacked in this situation. A United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, the number one person that actually controls your healthcare. Now, while doing my research for this whole video and trying to understand a little more about the whole situation, I found on TikTok this one video about a guy that gives a little bit of a different perspective that I didn't really know at first, but it gives a little bit of an understanding on what possibly could be happening after the situation.
So CEOs are in trouble if they catch the gunman, and they're in trouble if they don't catch him. Here's why. First of all, they're not going to. I can explain it in another video, but at this point, they're not going to catch him. But let's say that they do catch him. They would have to put him on trial. That trial will be a heavily televised public event. It would have a lot of viewership, a lot of people paying attention. And during this event, they'd be giving a name and a face to this guy so people would sympathize with him even more. In that trial, he would officially be given a platform to espouse his beliefs and his motivations as to why he did it. Motivations that a lot of Americans likely agree with. By giving him that platform, the rich would inadvertently be creating more people like him who want to do more of the thing that he did. So arresting him and putting him on trial, that's a Pyrrhic victory for them. Second, let's assume that the NYPD gets into a chase with him, or the FBI gets into a chase with him, and he is gunned down in the chase. Well, now you've made him a martyr, right? You're making him some average citizen who was gunned down for doing unto the ruling class what the ruling class has been doing unto the rest of us for centuries. Also a no-win situation. Finally, let's look at the most likely outcome, that he's not going to get caught, he's going to get away with this, and the CEOs who want him caught and punished are going to be left hanging. Left hanging. In that situation, the gunman proved to the American public that the elite are not safe from us, that just because they think they are free from their consequences does not mean that we cannot get to them. He would effectively prove to a lot of Americans who are likely to take up the same position as him that, hey, not only should you take action against these corporate executives who are making your lives worse, but it is in fact stupid easy to get away with doing so. And by getting away, it would allow him to essentially remain anonymous. He becomes a symbol. He, for all intents and purposes, becomes V from V for Vendetta. And in America, after, centuries of the opposite being true, people finally understand that the rich and the powerful who exploit them every day are not invincible. And I could easily see that being the start of a very violent, very horrific class revolution in the United States. And look, at this point, they're not going to catch him. The NYPD has admitted he has a 3-day head start on him. They've admitted they haven't been able to find any evidence that ties an actual person to this crime. The one shot they have of him on CCTV is incredibly blurry and doesn't provide full face ID. This gunman is gone at this point. They are never going to see him again unless someone rats on him, and it's looking like no one really wants to. I do not know how this is going to end. All I know is that it is going to end up in the history books.
Okay, well, that was a lot. Well, yes, I actually really do believe with the guy that if he is arrested and he's tried and convicted, he is going to be a martyr and a symbol for everybody to be representing on what is to come, and not even what's to come, but what should be to come. Everywhere I look, whether it be Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, X, there's two types of people within the conversation. There's people saying, no, this is not right, this shouldn't be happening, and then there's people saying, oh yes, this is right, this is finally the vigilante justice that everybody's been waiting for. And the people that are usually saying that this is not right, this shouldn't be happening, are people that usually never had to deal with any financial struggles. They're the people that always had money to spare, and not even saying that, maybe you're in a serious situation where the insurance policy was something that needed to be passed through, and maybe it was denied, and that was the reason that the whole situation got even worse, and maybe there was a tragedy that happened. There's no shortage of avenues and ways that the insurance adjusters and claimers have screwed over people throughout their years. So when it finally comes to the two groups being represented, whether it be in a good light or in a bad light, if when in the court status, the people are going to back the people that they believe. The people are going to back the people who they believe in the situation, regardless of what happened in the situation. They're going to back the people that believe is right, and the person that they believe right in the situation, regardless of the dude actually killing a person, is the gunman. Now, this whole news sent shockwaves throughout the whole industry, and not just the CEOs, but the industry itself. Now, one of the funnier situations that came out of this was there was a news article that a hospital was recently going to pass a policy that was going to limit anesthesia for patients up to a certain point. But since this whole situation has basically rattled the industry and showed everybody that, hey, you can't keep doing this to people, you can't keep screwing people over, you can't keep giving people the bare minimum and expect them to be happy with it. Now that they actually found out that people are going to start fighting back, and there's possibly, more than likely, going to be some type of consequences that's going to come to CEOs in the coming future. Now that they found that out, they don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to do it.
Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield will not go ahead with a policy change that had many concerned when it was announced. The insurer initially said that they would put a limit on how long they paid for anesthesia during some surgery and medical procedures. The change was supposed to go into effect for several states in February, but a spokesperson says that due to widespread misinformation about the policy update, the company has decided to not go through with it. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield is one of the largest health insurers in the United States.
Yeah, you got to understand that they have to say that a lot of people didn't understand the policy, so that's why they had to, throw it away, because they didn't want to actually say that, hey, our CEO is scared shitless that you guys are going to actually come and shoot him and kill him, so we're not going to do this to you guys. And look, by me making this video, I'm not advertising for vigilante justice. I'm not promoting what the CEOs are doing. I'm not saying that them screwing people over and denying all insurance claims and killing people on the down low and killing people inadvertently, not connectingly, so that's their justification. Oh, I didn't press the button, I didn't pull the plug, so I didn't do it. No. And I'm also not advocating for vigilante justice, people trying to take it up on themselves and shoot all these people and try to make change, because in all reality, this is not how change happens. This is how shock happens, and people finally get attention to these to these things. But in all reality, the only way for change to actually happen is for people to vote on their legislators and their advisors and their administrators, and have them to vote for them. That's just how America works. That's just how the Republican works. My whole opinion on the situation is I think that CEOs finally need to wake up and try to understand is that, like, we're not like numbers and shit. Like, that's one of the biggest problems in like in CEOs and managers, is that we just looked at as just robotic numbers and shit, and we're getting to the point where people we're starting to diverse ourselves and not want to go into these factories. I really wish no one else dies. I really wish there's no one tragedies that can come up from the situation. You can't honestly think that the situation is going to go away. This is the breaking point and the crack in the dam. This is literally the silence in the room before the disaster. This is going to blossom into something big, but the difference of it between a chaotic event and a actual construction event, a constructive event, is how we handle it, is how we decide to take the situation. It's like, yes, this is a horrible, terrible situation, and we should try to rectify it, but why did it happen? Why did this guy feel he was so justified to do everything he did, to write delay, deny, and defend on the bullets themselves, shoot the guy multiple times, have the gun jammed, unjam the gun, continue to shoot the guy, and then leave fake Monopoly money inside the backpack a couple of miles away from the actual scene of the crime? You can't expect that type of influence, that type of effort, just to go away. There's more gonna come from this, and I can see some serious, actual constructive change that could come from this, but we have to drive it in that way. We can't just fall into despair and hysteria and do what we always do and focus on the negativity and not really try to take any good from any situation, like we always do. All right, I'm in the video here. I don't want to make it too long. I don't want to put too many explanatives in the video. So far in the whole story, where we are is the actual gunman got away on the bike. We don't really know if he retook the Greyhound, more likely than not to not get caught. But so far, the gunman's gone. And the gunman had a 2 to 3 day actual head start. So in all reality, I don't really think the gunman's gonna be found, because I think he's long gone by now. One of the things that actually pissed me off about the CEOs is how they use people. It's how they use and degrade people. But CEOs aren't the actually only ones that use and degrade people. This one person on TikTok seemingly doesn't understand what's going on, and he doesn't understand that he's being used and controlled in all aspects of his life in order to just get money. But in all reality, he's not getting any of that money. He's not seeing a damn cent. And if you're actually curious about that video, here's a video preview clip of that video that I'm gonna show you right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll see you later.
Fucker! Fuck you! I'm kidding you!
No one is buying your stupid block coin. Good luck trying to sue anyone sped by.
I'll kill you!
Look at who has ever gotten a huge meme coin tattoo of their own meme coin. Maybe we can pump up Chill Guy and Chill Guy can pump us up.
Your diaper song, your diaper song. I bet that you need a new diaper.
That big fat nigga looks...
Hey, no racism, asshole.
Adam
Shut
looks
up.
like he would groom a 15-year-old.
Shut
You're
up.
a failed artist that no one likes. Look at you just standing there like a failure. Fuck.
Do you want us to launch $ Josh, like a Josh coin next week, and you have like Josh and Block?
Yeah.
What Josh wants is a music career. He wants a coin or two.
Check